Joining us on Country Party is Curtis Rampel of High Valley. They've had back-to-back wins as Group and Duo of the Year for Canadian Country Music Awards, 7 top 10 singles, 3 gold record certifications, and 2 Juno Award nominations. Today, Curtis is with us to chat about his new song, Grew Up on That. How's it going?
It's going great. We're honestly just enjoying a bunch of family time here on the farm.
For those of my listeners that aren't aware, you grew up in a small Mennonite community in Alberta, and I read that you barely had radio signal there, and FM wasn't even available till you were a teenager. Do you have any other unique experiences from your childhood?
When I was a kid, I had no idea that growing up in Lacree, Alberta was unique in any way. When I finally started hitting the road at 17, started telling people where I was from, and then they were like, where is that? I've never even heard of that. And I was like, oh, well, it's 500 miles north of Edmonton. And they were like, what? And especially when we were in America, nobody even knew what Edmonton was. So it was like trying to explain to them that we live 500 miles north of a city they hadn't even heard of. Then I started realizing, okay, this town is super far away from everything most people know anything about, and it is an unusual town. I mean, you got to take a ferry over the river to get home, or in the winter you drive over the frozen ice bridge, and that's just what we grew up. It was normal to me.
And then what was it like leaving that community?
I moved to Nashville when I was 21 or 22, and we started touring full-time when I was 15, so I'd been to many places before I finally moved, so it was kind of like this transition period, and I was very familiar with Nashville when I made the jump.
Right.
So there was no shock. Brad was in the band before I was. It was Brad and my other brother and a handful of guys from our hometown, and I joined the band, and then the next summer we went on tour, and we left home for 3 months. I may have been 16 at that time, and that was a bit of a shock. I'd hardly ever left home, went on very few vacations in my entire life, made trips to the city, which would have been Grand Prairie or Edmonton, maybe once or twice a year.
Yep.
And then suddenly I was traveling all over North America for 3 months. That was a shock to the system for sure.
Yeah, sounds like fun. So the cover art for your new song, Grew Up on That, is really unique. And for my listeners that haven't seen it, can you describe it for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Me, as a 2-year-old, riding our Kubota garden tractor, probably a 70s model, and my dad put it in first gear and let it idle, and I just slowly was coasting through the front yard on this big tractor. I'm all alone. I can't believe they felt safe with this situation. But in the photos, our neighbor and then my uncle, and it's the 3 of us on the cover, and it's on our farm that we grew up on, 7 acres, a bunch of granaries in the background, and the machine shop where we would get the tractors and combines with my dad. And it's quite literally one of the most accurate photos to show what we grew up on. We grew up on that front lawn and in that shop.
Were there other photos that you were considering?
Yeah, there was photos of Brad on a little dirt bike, me on this little BMX next to the barbed wire fence and the horses. There was all kinds of photos, but I was literally on a tractor, and we just thought it made a lot of sense.
Religion was also a big part in your upbringing. Do you feel like that has impacted your views on the current coronavirus situation?
Yeah, it depends who you compare to. Brad and I are hardcore believers in the Bible and strive to model our lives after Jesus, and that's a huge influence on how Brad writes songs, which songs we choose to record, and the message that we want to give to people. We don't want to force any message down anybody's throat, but we want to be authentic and just let them know who we are, and a big part of that is what we believe in and the way we lived our lives as a result.
Yeah, I think the lyrics of the song Grew Up on That gets very to the point on a lot of things. Each line really was used to its full potential.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So both of you are fathers. How has the way you grew up affected the way you parent?
Yeah, it totally affected the way we parent. We decided to buy this farm here in Tennessee. It's very similar in size, farm that I grew up on. That's on the cover photo that I was describing earlier. And I want my kids to experience that. They got a lot of space. They can get outside, get creative. That's how I grew up. I try to encourage the kids to spend as much time out, trying to pass that down as best as I can.
Aside from posting comedic content online, how have you been spending your time social distancing?
I've got a handful of hobbies. We put in a garden this year, and I've been getting a little nerdy with all that, and my chickens, and I got cows, and I do a lot of woodworking and leather crafting, so I'm just making stuff. There's always projects on the farm. Trying to organize stuff now that we finally have time to go organize the garage finally, organize the shed, clean up my barn. I have all the time in the world. There's all these projects that it's like realistic for me to actually get these things done.
And you're actually feeling motivated to do all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can only sit around for so long.
Yeah. So your upcoming EP is also titled Grew Up on That, and it's set for release on May 2nd. What else can we expect to hear on this album?
Oh man, my brother Brad has been writing some killer songs. Brad's been writing songs since he was, well, probably younger than that. He's just been getting better and better. And just some really good songs about how we grew up and songs that'll make you cry and good, tasteful, authentic music that we just can't wait for everybody to hear.
I was wondering, with all this writing that he does, and do you guys ever write outside, like on the farm?
Brad writes all over the place, really. I don't write at all. Brad's a great writer. I pursued it for a while, and it's not my thing. So I don't write outside, but I also don't write inside. Brad writes anywhere. I think he's writing in his mind all day long, every day.
Yep.
That kind of seems to be how his brain works.
Yep. Will there be any collaborations with anybody on this album?
Probably not. I think it's going to be Brad and myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks for joining me on Country Party. I wish you all the best with the new song and EP. Stay positive, and I hope to catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, sounds great.
Alrighty. Have a great one.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye. For my listeners, be sure to add High Valley's new song, Grew Up on That, to your playlist and keep your eyes peeled for their upcoming EP release on May 2nd. I also recommend following them on social media for behind-the-scenes content, sneak peeks, and some humor.